kind of your flagship event taking place every 2 years. It's the Western Hemisphere's largest manufacturing trade show with almost 90,000 attendees this past time. Although I do remember a time when well over 100,000 attendees have been to IMTS in the not too distant past.
Yep.
And this is the one that I just kind of blew my mind. 40 million pounds of machinery was on display in 2024. What do you think has led to such singular popularity and interest in this particular event?
Yeah, I mean it's really fantastic when you think about what happens every 2 years when it comes around to IMTS. I mean, logistics and pulling it off. You noted a few things. I mean, it's amazing to pull off an event this big, and
Hmm.
also you're mentioning over 100,000. Yeah, that was 2018. That was
Right.
the high water mark. So we were increasing in 2014, 2016, 2018, growing from the 80,000s to 90,000s to over 100,000. And then obviously during 2020, we had a reset button thanks to COVID.
Sure. Yeah.
And then everybody's working their way back up, and we're back on that train. So we keep increasing over previous years. We're actually looking to be over 100,000 this year, back on track to growth. And I think the reason IMTS is successful is that when it gets to capital equipment and advanced manufacturing technology, though you can do a lot of things online now to understand the basics, you can just equally go to a lot of open houses that a lot of our members do an excellent job on. They're somewhat singular in their focus. And again,
Hmm.
if you're making big investments into capital equipment and technology is going to be changing your factory, your facility, your shop, you want to see, touch, and feel. You want to compare across aisle. You want to compare across buildings. Is there different technology that you could actually buy to solve the thing you thought you wanted to buy, but by walking around the 13 miles of aisles, you actually run across a couple of people doing something that looks like what you want, and you didn't anticipate that was the thing to go do. There's just something about having that many engineers, software developers, executives, production management people that are in the booths that are walking, available to be discussing what their technology does. And then for you to go, huh, there's another company I saw over here. I'm going to go see what that one's like and try to really understand what technologies are best positioned to do what you need to solve your problems. And so most people that are going to do an effective job coming to IMTS are first going to be identifying what do they need.
Hmm.
If you go shopping at the grocery store and you have no idea what you're doing, you just go up and down the aisle with the cart, you're going to find you're going to have a lot of extra junk in your cart and waste a lot of time. Come with the problem you want to solve. You don't have to know what equipment you want to buy. Come with the problem you want to solve. And then
Hmm.
while you're walking around talking to people, and you can figure out ahead of time on the planner kind of where you can roughly get to your ideas
Hmm.
from the people that have the technology. It's just really walking around talking to people. You're going to meet people and hear things and get recommendations. You can go to a tooling person, ask them about who they think might be a good work holding person that they've worked with in the past. It's that idea generation. It's those collisions that happen. It's being able to see the things when you're investing six figures of money to go buy a thing, touch it, feel it, talk to the people, see if they really understand your needs and they can take care of all the things that you want from service, support, installation, integration, or collaboration with other products. And you can do all that in, just a couple of days with all the people that are there.
Yeah, it's speaking of those advanced technologies like that, the Emerging Technology Center at IMTS showcases some live end-to-end digital manufacturing workflows. How do you determine what's going to take center stage at the Emerging Technology Center?
Yeah, I think it goes back, Mike, to one of the earlier questions you were talking about, like, how do we help our people through, what are these changes and things that are going on?
Right.
Because we are working with the government labs, and this one, Oak Ridge, we're doing a bunch of stuff with them. Because we're doing some stuff with Sandia, they're connected in this one. Because we work with some, leading companies in the space, we can partner with them once we introduce different technology or see they've got a technology that would fit. The ETC is typically set up to be something that we want to make the general attendee aware of that's really not ready to buy tomorrow, but is going to be, just maybe 3 years out in the future. So you should start thinking about it. So it's another part of what we do, creating how do we get people from awareness into accelerating the understanding to actually adopting and buying it or using it as a tool. And so this year it was really one of, how do we take kind of a combination of things that are technologies that are really out at the leading edge a bit and kind of put them in a bleeding edge solution. And so the idea was this concept of, when you're putting an automation cell together, you either got to, come up with something where you get flexibility or you can get quantity. Either it's, large volume or it's high variety. And like, how can we get variety at scale? And so we said, let's start taking a look at that. And then we started thinking, well, let's make it as practical as we can, something people can really sink their teeth into. We're like, well, what's the thing that a lot of people are talking about today? It's drones. And so we came up with this idea working with the folks at Oak Ridge, and we partnered then with Fanuc and Prusa and Mazak and Shunk and Kennametal to kind of integrate all those pieces together into one cell where we're going to be making three different styles of quadcopters. We're
Hmm.
going to be able to be changing on the fly during the show from different types and different sizes. We're going to be making one every 4 minutes. So every 4 minutes, there's going to be one of these bad boys coming off. We're also going to be flying them. And if we can get the nice folks at McCormick to play along with us, we're going to have some safety netting set up, and we're going to actually have them swarm operating after we make them.
Wow.
So controlled AI swarm setup to be able to. But what we're showing is the rapid changeover that can happen from model to model, being able to make a product with integrated electronics, with the molding process and machining process. We're going to do some wire additive with the Mazak machine. So we got a CNC and a wire additive from Mazak. We've got Fanuc with the robotics automation. We're working with Edgewater on our automation technology for integrating all that all together. And so it really is like open minds helping us with the CAD CAM software and the whole thing. We've got MT Connect on. So you've got an open architecture system where we have collection of data that's semantically structured to begin with so that all the data information can be used on the fly to be building out changes or adjustments and improvements to the process. And so it's going to be really neat. And we have to have three tracks. So when you walk into the cell and you're an owner of a business, we have kind of like an owner executive track to kind of walk you through the value proposition, why it's important. We've got one that's kind of like your engineer application software development track, for the
Hmm.
guys that want to be techie in that space. And we also have, folks that are, running a small shop, or you're a machine operator and you're kind of just interested. So we've kind of got the operator, user, mold maker, tool maker, die maker, controls guy on the floor. They're just, hey, this is kind of cool. What's going on? And, get a good flavor of what that is. So we take you through that. Hey, here's something you should be aware of. And then we're going to have some things coming up after this to, accelerate your knowledge in this space. Will be conferences or things that we'll do at our MT Forecast event or our MFG event, and different things that we do with web events and our media content. I think IMTS Plus, where you keep on learning more about these things in showrooms, keep
Hmm.
people moving through the process. And that's what we did back in 2012 with additive. We did the additive car back at IMTS back in
Sure.
12, 14. And, then it was more and more things we provide you in that space so that you can leverage it for your facility.
Right. Wow, fantastic. Yeah, it's very interesting having the three different tracks depending upon who the visitor to the center is, just because their interests or their needs will certainly be different
Sure,
based.
absolutely.
Well, finally, one last question for you. What can we expect at IMTS this year?
A lot of everything we just got done talking about. Well,
Right.
some of the really cool stuff. We talked about the ETC. Well, we didn't talk about right next to the ETC. We thought we'd do this fun thing. We had some people talking to us about AI, and AI is going to be in a lot of booths everywhere. We said, but there's some small companies and some bigger companies that would be kind of neat to do something for them. So we set up this thing originally on a diagram. We're going to have like 10 or 20 little 10 by 10 booths, biggest you could get. Just part, you can't do any big. If you want to do a big thing, go do it on the show floor. Small booths just get things started. It filled up in like a couple of weeks. So we
Hmm.
did another row of 20, and it filled up in a few weeks. So we did another row. So there's three
Wow.
rows of 10 by 10s that are right off the ETC. These are some big companies, and these are some companies you've never heard of, but they're all involved with industrial applications of AI, knowing what IMTS and what the IMTS audience is. That's going to be super cool and neat. There's all kinds of conferences going on that we're doing in partnership. Relative, there's lasers, there's ones with tool shops, there's ones with women in manufacturing, there's ones with the investors. We do an investor summit regularly, getting people interested in investing. So everyone goes after the software industry or maybe the robotics industry, take our whole manufacturing technology and bring the investors and let them see what's cool, let's see what's neat. A lot of defense-oriented things. So we're doing a number of different things for special conferences. How do you get into selling to the Defense Department? We're going to be hosting a vice admiral from the Navy handling submarines, talking about what his needs are, how people can help them with what they're doing, building out subs. So whether it's the kinds of people around the edges that you want to meet, which is who you're going to be selling to, or the technology you want to find out about, you're going to see it between all the different halls. And we also this year moved additive right into the South Hall, which typically was just the chip making, the metal removal guys. And
Hmm.
we said, look, additive needs to step up. It's not an industry, it's a technology, and it's an interesting technology in partnership with other technologies. And so we wanted it to be seen by the attendees as more an integrated manufacturing solution. So we pulled it out of the West Hall. We stuck it into the South Hall. So that's kind of a cool new thing. We'll see how that plays out for people when they're touring around. And some really cool things we're doing with Boom, with their supersonics. You're going to see them out in front of the West Hall. Some of that space we got back by having additive slide over. And so they've got their simulator there. You want to see how you can land a supersonic plane, go give that a try, but see some of their aircraft. A lot of neat things going to be going on at the show. It's always cool. It's going to be fun. In fact, I think we're going to have an eVTOL out in our front area where we had the jet guy flying around. We're going to have an eVTOL out there flying around if we get the city to okay that one. So, but the eVTOL will be there one way or another out in the front lawn of the entrance of IMTS, and it'll be fun. Bring your good walking shoes.